On January 31st, 2013, 21-year-old Elisa Lam, a Canadian tourist visiting Los Angeles, was last seen at the Cecil Hotel, a downtown establishment with a dark and troubled history. Elisa, who had been traveling alone, was staying at the hotel while exploring the city and planning her next destination. Known to be an adventurous and free-spirited young woman, she had been documenting her travels and sharing moments on social media. Yet, in the days leading up to her disappearance, those who knew her began to notice subtle signs that something was amiss. Elisa's last confirmed sighting came from the hotel's security cameras, capturing her inside the elevator late that night. The footage, later released to the public, showed Elisa behaving in a manner that many found unsettling. She appeared to press multiple elevator buttons, step in and out of the elevator repeatedly, and make odd gestures, as if hiding or talking to someone unseen. At one point, Elisa is seen peering out of the elevator, looking around cautiously, then bending down as if to avoid being seen. Her expressions fluctuated wildly, from fear to confusion to moments of apparent calm, before she finally exited on an upper floor. This bizarre behavior sparked immediate concern when Elisa failed to check out of the hotel as scheduled. Friends and family, who had been in contact with her up until shortly before her disappearance, grew increasingly worried. When Elisa missed a planned phone call and stopped responding to messages, her family in Canada reached out to the hotel staff in Los Angeles. Hotel employees, upon checking their records and surveillance, confirmed that Elisa had not been seen after the elevator footage's timestamp. Alarmed, they contacted local authorities, and a missing person report was filed. The Cecil Hotel itself added layers of unease to the case. Known for its affordability and central location, the hotel had long been associated with a history of crime, tragedy, and unexplained occurrences. Over the decades, it had housed transient guests and been the site of several notorious incidents, including murders and suicides. Staff members reported strange noises and unusual activity, particularly on the upper floors where Elisa had been staying. These reports, combined with the eerie elevator footage, fueled speculation both within the hotel and the public. In the immediate aftermath of Elisa's disappearance, the Los Angeles Police Department launched an extensive investigation. Officers canvassed the hotel, interviewing staff and guests, and reviewing security footage from every available camera. However, the building's complex layout and the presence of many guests complicated the search. The hotel's security system was outdated and sometimes malfunctioned, leaving gaps in the surveillance timeline. Despite these challenges, the police remained determined to piece together Elisa's last known movements. Friends and family members described Elisa as generally upbeat and independent, but they acknowledged she had been struggling with episodes of anxiety and depression. Some speculated that her strange behavior in the elevator might have been linked to a mental health crisis, while others worried about the possibility of foul play. Elisa had reportedly been taking medication, and there were concerns she might have been experiencing side effects or a manic episode. Yet no definitive explanation emerged from those closest to her, leaving a cloud of uncertainty. The hotel staff's accounts added to the mystery. Several employees recalled hearing noises or seeing shadows in hallways, but none could confirm sightings of Elisa after that night. Some guests reported feeling uneasy, sensing a presence, or witnessing unusual occurrences, though these claims remained anecdotal. The Cecil Hotel's reputation as a place where many guests had gone missing or met tragic ends made these reports all the more chilling. Public interest in the case surged once the elevator footage was released. Viewers around the world were captivated and disturbed by Elisa's erratic movements and apparent fear. The video quickly went viral, spawning countless theories and discussions on internet forums and social media platforms. Some suggested that Elisa might have been interacting with an invisible entity or suffering from a psychotic break, while others believed someone had been following her within the hotel. The ambiguity of the footage, combined with her sudden disappearance, created a fertile ground for speculation. As the days passed with no sign of Elisa, pressure mounted on the authorities to intensify their search. Police expanded their efforts beyond the hotel, canvassing nearby areas and checking hospitals, shelters, and homeless encampments for any trace of her. They also reached out to mental health organizations, hoping to gather information that might explain her behavior or whereabouts. Despite these efforts, Elisa's trail seemed to vanish into thin air. The Cecil Hotel management cooperated with investigators, granting access to all areas of the building. They also reviewed maintenance records and security protocols, attempting to identify any vulnerabilities or incidents that could shed light on Elisa's disappearance. The hotel's water tanks, rooftop access points, and stairwells became focal points of the investigation, as police sought to determine whether Elisa might have left the elevator footage location and entered parts of the building not easily accessible to guests. Throughout the search, Elisa's family remained in close contact with law enforcement and the media, pleading for information and urging anyone with knowledge of her whereabouts to come forward. They described Elisa as bright and compassionate, emphasizing that she would not intentionally disappear without informing someone. Her disappearance was profoundly out of character, heightening their fears that she was in danger. The circumstances surrounding Elisa's last known moments at the Cecil Hotel, captured in that haunting elevator video, stood as a perplexing puzzle. Her erratic behavior, the hotel's sinister reputation, and the absence of any clear explanation combined to create one of Los Angeles's most baffling missing person cases. As authorities and the public grappled with the unsettling footage, the search continued, driven by hope and the urgent need to understand what had happened to Elisa Lam. Following Elisa Lam's disappearance and the release of the unsettling elevator footage, the Los Angeles Police Department intensified their investigation, meticulously reviewing every available piece of evidence in search of clues. The elevator video, which had captivated and mystified viewers worldwide, became a central focus for investigators trying to piece together Elisa's final hours inside the Cecil Hotel. The footage showed erratic behavior, Elisa pressing multiple buttons, stepping in and out of the elevator, and seemingly hiding or communicating with an unseen presence. This behavior baffled officers and forensic experts alike, leaving them to question what exactly had transpired in those moments. As the investigation unfolded, hotel staff came forward with additional reports that deepened the mystery surrounding the Cecil Hotel. Several employees recalled strange occurrences prior to Elisa's disappearance, including unexplained noises, flickering lights, and doors opening or closing by themselves. Some mentioned the hotel's reputation for harboring dark secrets, citing past incidents involving guests who had vanished or died under suspicious circumstances. These anecdotes fueled speculation that the hotel itself might be linked to Elisa's fate, although authorities approached such claims with caution, focusing on verifiable facts rather than hearsay. The hotel's layout and security protocols also drew scrutiny. The Cecil Hotel, an aging building with a labyrinthine structure, featured multiple stairwells, service corridors, and rooftop access points. Some areas were restricted, locked, or difficult to access, raising questions about how Elisa could have moved through the building unnoticed. Security footage from hallways and stairwells was sparse or missing in some instances, complicating efforts to track her movements. Investigators, therefore, turned to searching physical spaces themselves, conducting thorough sweeps of every floor, including service areas and the roof. In one of the more perplexing developments, hotel maintenance staff reported difficulties with the rooftop water tanks. The tanks were secured with padlocks and fences, yet it soon emerged that access was not as restricted as initially believed. Investigators learned that maintenance workers occasionally left gates unlocked or propped open for convenience, potentially allowing unauthorized entry. This revelation would later prove significant, though at the time, it only added to the list of unanswered questions about how Elisa might have reached certain parts of the building. During the days following her disappearance, police conducted exhaustive searches of the hotel and surrounding premises. Officers combed through storage rooms, basements, and utility areas, hoping to find any sign of Elisa, whether a physical trace, personal belongings, or indications of a struggle. They also interviewed guests and staff extensively, seeking eyewitness accounts or information about unusual activity. While some guests recalled hearing strange noises or seeing people in odd places, no concrete leads emerged. The Los Angeles Police Department also reached out to forensic experts and mental health professionals to analyze the elevator footage and Elisa's behavior. Some specialists suggested that Elisa might have been experiencing a dissociative episode or psychotic break, possibly triggered by underlying mental health conditions or medication side effects. Others considered the possibility of external threats, such as harassment or assault, but no evidence supported these theories. The lack of clear answers only intensified the investigation's complexity. Meanwhile, the Cecil Hotel's dark history resurfaced in media coverage and public discourse. Known for its association with crime and tragedy, the hotel had been home to serial killers, suicides, and unexplained deaths over the decades. This history contributed to a growing unease about the location where Elisa had vanished. Staff members, some of whom had worked at the hotel for years, exchanged stories about the building's eerie atmosphere and the many rumors that surrounded it. These accounts, while not official evidence, added a haunting backdrop to the ongoing search. As police continued their work, they faced mounting pressure from the public and Elisa's family to provide answers. The release of the elevator footage had sparked widespread interest, and numerous theories proliferated online, ranging from mental health struggles to supernatural interference. Authorities, however, remained focused on factual leads, carefully documenting each step of their investigation. They emphasized the importance of not jumping to conclusions without evidence, even as speculation threatened to overshadow the case. In the midst of this, a breakthrough came when maintenance workers discovered Elisa's body inside one of the hotel's rooftop water tanks several days after she was reported missing. The discovery shocked investigators and the public alike, raising immediate questions about how Elisa had accessed the tank and what circumstances led to her death. The water tank, located atop the hotel, was typically locked and difficult to reach, prompting renewed scrutiny of security lapses and building access. The condition of Elisa's body suggested she had been submerged in the tank for several days. Authorities launched a detailed examination of the rooftop area, looking for signs of forced entry or a struggle. They found no evidence of foul play on site, no signs of a break-in or external interference, but the circumstances remained puzzling. How Elisa had managed to climb up to the roof and enter a locked water tank remained a critical and unanswered question. Police investigators also studied the hotel's security footage extensively, searching for any indication of Elisa's movements leading up to the discovery. Despite reviewing hours of video, they found no clear footage showing her accessing the rooftop or the water tank. The absence of such evidence deepened the mystery, as it seemed improbable she could have reached that area unobserved. Hotel management cooperated fully with the investigation, providing access to all security systems and maintenance logs. They acknowledged that the water tanks were occasionally accessed for cleaning and repairs, and that security protocols might not have been strictly enforced. Some employees admitted to leaving gates unlocked or unsecured, which could have facilitated Elisa's entry. However, these admissions raised concerns about negligence rather than intentional wrongdoing. The autopsy report later concluded that Elisa's cause of death was accidental drowning, with no signs of trauma or foul play. Toxicology tests revealed traces of medication in her system, supporting the theory that she might have experienced a mental health episode leading to her death. Yet, many questions persisted. How did Elisa get into the tank? Why was there no sign of her on footage outside the elevator? And what exactly was she doing in those final moments captured on camera? These unanswered questions fueled ongoing debate and investigation. The case highlighted not only the tragic circumstances of Elisa's death, but also the role that the Cecil Hotel's environment and security shortcomings may have played. Authorities reviewed building policies and safety measures in the wake of the incident, aiming to prevent similar occurrences in the future. Throughout the investigation, Elisa's family and friends continued to seek understanding and closure. Their heartbreak was compounded by the confusing and eerie details that surrounded her final hours. The public, too, remained captivated by the case, drawn by the combination of strange behavior, a mysterious hotel, and a tragic end. As the police worked to assemble a complete picture of what had happened, the Cecil Hotel's reputation as a place of darkness and mystery was once again reinforced. Elisa's death, under such baffling circumstances, added another chapter to the hotel's troubled history, one that would continue to invite speculation and reflection for years to come. Investigators officially ruled Elisa Lam's cause of death as accidental drowning, concluding that no signs of trauma or foul play were present. Yet, The circumstances surrounding how she ended up in the locked water tank on the roof of the Cecil Hotel remained deeply puzzling. Authorities struggled to explain how a young woman, whose erratic behavior had been captured on elevator security footage just days prior, could have gained access to an area considered off-limits to guests, and how she might have survived long enough to enter the tank. This lack of a clear, logical narrative left many questions unanswered, fueling widespread speculation and public fascination. One of the foremost mysteries was the means by which Elisa accessed the rooftop water tank. The tank itself was enclosed within a secured cage, locked with a padlock, and situated atop the hotel's roof, accessible only through a series of locked doors and stairwells. Maintenance workers admitted that sometimes gates were left unlocked for convenience, but no concrete evidence indicated that anyone else had been present on the roof during the critical time frame. How Elisa managed to navigate the roof, open the tank's lid, and enter the water without assistance remained unclear. Was she physically capable of such a feat alone? Did she receive help, or was there a lapse in security significant enough to go unnoticed? The public and media quickly seized on this ambiguity, producing a wave of theories ranging from the plausible to the fantastical. Some posited that Elisa, struggling with her mental health, might have experienced a psychotic episode, leading her to climb onto the roof and inadvertently fall or sink into the water tank. Others speculated about foul play, suggesting she might have been coerced or forced into the tank by an unknown individual. The lack of any signs of struggle or evidence pointing to a third party, however, made this theory difficult to substantiate. Adding to the intrigue was the eerie elevator footage itself, which seemed to capture Elisa's last movements before entering the water tank. Her strange behavior, pressing multiple buttons, stepping in and out, hiding behind corners, and making unusual gestures, was interpreted by some as evidence of confusion or paranoia, possibly exacerbated by medication or mental illness. Others viewed the footage through a more sinister lens, imagining that Elisa was reacting to an unseen entity or presence within the hotel. Given the Cecil Hotel's long history of violence, disappearances, and reported hauntings, supernatural explanations found a receptive audience among those drawn to the macabre. Despite the official findings, speculation about Elisa's mental state dominated much of the conversation. Her family revealed that she had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and was prescribed medication, though they insisted she was managing her condition well. Some experts suggested that side effects from medication, combined with the stress of travel and isolation, may have contributed to her erratic actions. Reports also indicated that she might have been experiencing episodes of anxiety or paranoia, which could explain her behavior in the elevator and her eventual decision to access the roof. Public reaction to the case was intense and far-reaching. Social media platforms buzzed with theories, fan-made videos, and discussions dissecting every frame of the elevator footage. True crime enthusiasts and amateur sleuths alike speculated on forums and websites, trying to unravel the mystery. The Cecil Hotel itself became a focal point of morbid curiosity, with some visitors drawn to its storied past and others repelled by its association with tragedy. Journalists and documentary filmmakers seized the opportunity to explore the story, producing numerous articles, podcasts, and videos that examined not only Elisa's disappearance and death, but also the hotel's notorious reputation. The Cecil had long been linked to infamous figures and events, including serial killers and multiple suicides, and Elisa's case seemed to cement its place in Los Angeles' dark folklore. The hotel's history of violence and neglect was scrutinized, raising questions about whether systemic issues within the building's management and security had contributed to Elisa's death. Authorities maintained that, despite the public's fascination with conspiracy and supernatural hypotheses, their investigation was grounded in evidence. The final autopsy report, toxicology results, and forensic analysis supported the conclusion of accidental drowning, without signs of foul play or external harm. However, the inability to definitively explain how Elisa gained access to the water tank or what precisely happened in the moments leading up to her death left room for doubt and ongoing debate. In the wake of Elisa's death, the Cecil Hotel faced increased scrutiny and criticism. Building management implemented stricter security measures, including improved locks and surveillance, to prevent unauthorized rooftop access. Yet, the hotel's dark history and the tragic circumstances of Elisa's demise remained a stain that was difficult to erase. Some viewed the hotel as a symbol of neglect and danger, while others saw it as a place haunted by its past, a setting where tragedy seemed to repeat itself. For Elisa's family, the official ruling offered little comfort. While grateful that foul play was ruled out, they grappled with the unresolved questions about how and why their daughter died. Their pain was compounded by the public spectacle that surrounded the case, the viral footage, the rampant speculation, and the sensationalism. They sought privacy and dignity, but also hoped that sharing Elisa's story might raise awareness about mental health struggles and the vulnerabilities faced by travelers. The case also sparked broader conversations about mental health, safety in transient accommodations, and the challenges faced by young people traveling alone. Advocates highlighted the need for better support systems and security measures to protect individuals who might be vulnerable due to illness or isolation. Elisa's story resonated with many who recognized the complexities of mental health and the importance of compassion. As time passed, Elisa Lam's disappearance and death became emblematic of a deeper mystery, one that intertwined human vulnerability, a troubled environment, and unanswered questions. The public's fascination with the case persisted, fueled by the haunting elevator footage and the enigmatic circumstances of her demise. Though investigators closed the case with an official cause of death, the story continued to inspire theories, discussions, and a search for meaning beyond the facts. Elisa's final moments, captured so vividly yet remaining so obscure, left an imprint on the collective consciousness. The Cecil Hotel, with its shadowed corridors and grim past, stood as a silent witness to her tragedy. The unanswered questions lingered, inviting speculation and reflection as the world grappled with the disturbing blend of mystery, mental health, and mortality that defined her story. On the night of May 14, 2008, 19-year-old Brandon Swanson was driving near his hometown of Marshall, Minnesota, when his car became stuck in a ditch on a rural road. After the mishap, Brandon called his parents for help, explaining that he was lost in a dark, unfamiliar area and unable to determine his location. His last known contact was a series of phone calls made to his family late into the night, during which he reassured them that he was safe but disoriented. Despite their best efforts to locate him, Brandon vanished without a trace, and his disappearance sparked a search that has haunted his family and community ever since. Brandon was described by those who knew him as responsible and level-headed, someone unlikely to panic in emergencies. On the evening of his disappearance, he had been driving home from a party when his car slid off the road. Concerned but calm, he called his parents to explain the situation and ask for assistance. Over the phone, he described the surroundings as dark and rural, with limited landmarks to guide him. Brandon told his parents he would try to walk toward a familiar road while they searched for him, promising to keep his phone charged and maintain contact. What followed was a series of tense and fragmented communications. Brandon's parents listened anxiously as he navigated through unfamiliar terrain, calling out to them for directions while trying to find his way. At one point, he mentioned seeing lights in the distance and moving toward them, hoping they would lead to a road or a house. Despite the poor reception and intermittent calls, Brandon's voice remained steady, though his descriptions grew increasingly uncertain. He expressed concern about the cold and the darkness, but insisted he was careful. As dawn approached, Brandon's last words to his parents suggested he believed he was close to a road and planned to continue walking. After that, all contact ceased. The search for Brandon began immediately, with local law enforcement, volunteers, and family members scouring the area. They combed fields, wooded areas, and nearby roads, hoping to find any sign of the young man. Despite the thoroughness of the search, no evidence, no footprints, personal items, or vehicle was discovered. Brandon's disappearance baffled investigators and confounded those familiar with the case. The rural terrain around Marshall was known for being remote and difficult to navigate at night, but Brandon's familiarity with the area, combined with his calm demeanor on the phone, suggested he should have been able to find his way. The lack of physical evidence or a clear trail raised questions about what had happened after the last call. Authorities explored multiple theories in the aftermath. Some posited that Brandon might have suffered an accident, falling into a body of water, becoming trapped in a ravine, or succumbing to exposure in the cold Minnesota night. Others considered the possibility of foul play, though no suspects or motives emerged. The idea that Brandon had voluntarily disappeared or run away was largely dismissed by his family and friends, who emphasized his close ties to loved ones and lack of any known reasons to leave without notice. The case attracted attention beyond the local community, drawing interest from true crime enthusiasts and amateur investigators who analyzed the timeline, phone records, and geography. Some examined the last phone calls in detail, attempting to triangulate Brandon's location based on his descriptions and cell tower data. These efforts yielded inconclusive results, as the rural nature of the area and inconsistent signals complicated pinpointing his position. Brandon's family remained steadfast in their efforts to find him. They organized searches, distributed flyers, and appealed to the public for information. Years passed without new leads, but their hope never waned. The pain of uncertainty weighed heavily on them, as they grappled with the possibility that Brandon might still be alive somewhere, or had met a tragic fate in the unforgiving wilderness. Local law enforcement continued to revisit the case periodically, reviewing evidence and following up on tips. Advances in technology allowed for renewed efforts to analyze phone data and geographic information, though no breakthroughs occurred. The case remained open, a haunting reminder of a young man lost without explanation. Stories emerged from neighbors and locals about strange noises or unusual sightings around the time of Brandon's disappearance, but none were substantiated. The rural community, often close-knit and vigilant, was left searching for answers in the face of an inexplicable vanishing. The natural landscape, with its dense woods and hidden waterways, posed significant challenges for searchers and investigators alike. Brandon's disappearance also sparked discussions about safety for young people traveling alone in rural areas, particularly at night. The dangers of poor visibility, uneven terrain, and limited access to help were highlighted as factors that can quickly escalate emergencies. Advocates called for increased awareness and community support to prevent similar incidents. Despite the unresolved nature of the case, those who knew Brandon remembered him fondly. Friends spoke of his kindness, humor, and determination, painting a picture of a young man with a promising future. His family's love and relentless search kept his memory alive, inspiring others to remain vigilant about missing persons cases. In the years since Brandon's disappearance, the mystery has remained a source of sorrow and speculation. The unanswered questions about his fate continue to haunt those left behind. His story stands as a stark reminder of how quickly a routine night can turn into an enduring enigma, and how the vastness of rural America can swallow a person without a trace. As the search continues in hearts and minds, Brandon Swanson's case remains one of the most perplexing disappearances in recent history. A young man lost to the darkness, leaving behind only the echo of his final calls and the hope that someday, answers might be found. On February 9, 2004, 21-year-old Maura Murray vanished after a car accident on a remote road in New Hampshire, setting off a search and investigation that would mystify authorities and capture the attention of true crime enthusiasts for years to come. A nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, Maura had been planning a break from school and was en route to visit family in the weeks before her disappearance. Her last known actions, combined with a series of puzzling phone calls and purchases, painted a portrait of a young woman whose fate remains shrouded in uncertainty. The evening of her disappearance began when Maura left her dormitory with a small bag, telling friends she was taking a short trip in the region. She purchased alcohol and other supplies at a local store, actions that seemed unusual to those who knew her, given her generally responsible demeanor. Later that night, Maura was involved in a single-car crash on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. The accident, which caused minor damage to her vehicle, was reported by a passing driver who stopped to offer assistance. Shortly after the crash, Maura was seen by the driver, appearing calm but somewhat evasive. When authorities arrived, her car was found abandoned, but Maura herself was nowhere to be found. She was last seen walking into the nearby woods, dressed in a winter coat, but without a clear destination. Despite an immediate search effort by local police and volunteers, no trace of her was found. In the hours leading up to her disappearance, Maura had made several phone calls that raised questions about her state of mind and intentions. She contacted her professors to inform them of her absence, requested time off from school, and made calls to family members, some of which were described as cryptic or emotionally charged. Friends who spoke to her reported a mix of stress and excitement about her upcoming trip, but none anticipated the sudden and unexplained vanishing that followed. Investigators considered numerous possibilities, ranging from voluntary disappearance to foul play. Maura's background offered few clues. She was a high-achieving student with no history of mental illness or substance abuse. Her family described her as responsible and close-knit, making it difficult to understand why she might have chosen to leave without notice. Yet, the circumstances of the crash and her subsequent departure from the vehicle suggested a level of distress or urgency. The search for Maura expanded rapidly, encompassing the wooded areas near the crash site, nearby towns, and even bordering states. Canine units, helicopters, and ground teams combed the terrain, but the winter weather and rugged landscape complicated efforts. Despite extensive coverage, no definitive evidence of Maura's whereabouts emerged. Her disappearance became a cold case, with sporadic leads and theories sustaining interest over the years. Among the many theories proposed, some suggested that Maura had staged the crash as part of a planned escape, possibly to start a new life elsewhere. Others speculated that she had fallen victim to an accident or predatory crime in the remote area. Some investigators also considered the possibility of a suicide, though Maura's family strongly disputed this, pointing to her future plans and recent activities. Friends and family continued to advocate for answers, organizing searches, appealing to the public, and cooperating with law enforcement efforts. Over time, the case attracted attention from volunteer investigators and online communities dedicated to unsolved mysteries. These groups pored over details, timelines, and witness accounts, attempting to piece together Maura's final movements. In 2011, a significant tip emerged alleging that Maura had been raped and killed shortly after her disappearance. The individuals implicated in this claim were deceased, and no corroborating evidence was found, but the rumor added another layer to the ongoing speculation. Law enforcement remained open to new information but emphasized the importance of credible leads. The case also highlighted challenges in missing persons investigations, particularly in rural and wooded areas. Difficult terrain, limited resources, and the passage of time often hindered efforts to recover evidence or locate individuals. Maura's disappearance underscored the difficulties in resolving cases where initial clues are scarce and circumstances ambiguous. Throughout the years, Maura's family maintained hope that she might be found or that new information would surface. Their perseverance inspired others to remain vigilant in the search for missing loved ones. The case became emblematic of the many young adults who disappear under mysterious circumstances, leaving families and communities searching for closure. Maura Murray's story remains a haunting mystery. The combination of a sudden disappearance, a puzzling accident, and an absence of answers has kept her case alive in the public consciousness. Her fate is unknown, and despite ongoing interest and investigation, the circumstances of her vanishing continue to defy explanation.